the golden heart of the forbidden city, where the corridors whispered secrets and moonlight clung to curved eaves like forgotten sighs, sat an empress with eyes like still water, calm, unreadable, yet fathoms deep. She had not always been so. She was once a flame, crowned in spring beneath a sky of falling peach blossoms. Ziyan had stepped into the palace with a quiet grace that turned heads and silenced rooms. The emperor was young then, handsome and silver-tongued, with a smile that could command legions and disarm enemies. He called her his moonlight, his mirror, his match, not a consort of convenience, but a partner of the soul. They had spoken of poetry under candlelight, whispered of dreams between silken sheets. He read to her beneath lanterns, and she composed verses that only he would hear. When the court protested her quick rise, he silenced them with a word. "She is not just my empress," he had said, voice like thunder and honey. "She is the other half of my fate." And for a time, perhaps a precious, fragile time, he had meant it. But palaces are hungry places. Whispers grew like weeds. Ambition seeped into silk-lined chambers. And when her womb remained silent, month after month, year after year, eyes turned elsewhere. By the 3rd year of her reign, love had become ceremony. The warmth of his gaze cooled. He visited her chambers with less frequency, offering wine instead of words, gifts instead of touch. The empress who once laughed beside him in the lotus garden now sat alone beneath falling petals, her laughter rare and brittle, like a cracked jade flute. Her robes, once heavy with phoenix thread, now hung loosely from her fading frame. Servants murmured of curses, of ghostly ill omens. The court physician, summoned in haste and dismissed in silence, spoke gently of a fading constitution. The emperor, when asked, would sigh deeply and say, "Her heart, it is too soft for the burdens of the throne." But Ziyan said nothing. She sipped her tea and smiled. She watched, and she remembered. The one he favored now was concubine War, young, fragrant, eyes alight with ambition veiled as grace. She played the zither like a siren and walked as if she floated. He visited her chambers each night. He gifted her silks, poems, rare lotus blooms, and more importantly, he listened to her. "Your Majesty," she once said, in a voice soft as wind threading through bamboo, "I fear the Empress's health burdens your noble heart. If only she would retire, a peaceful life in the southern gardens, perhaps." The Emperor did not answer that night, but the very next morning, Ziyan's tea tasted faintly different. Her vision blurred before dusk, and her hands, once steady as calligraphy strokes, began to tremble. But Empress Ziyan had not survived the palace by chance. She had been born in war, raised by a general father who taught her how silence could be sharper than any sword, how patience was the strongest armor, and how when you strike to end. She suspected the poison within the weak, not because she tasted it. No, her tongue was used to bitter medicines, and the palace chefs were experts in masking death with sweetness, but because she remembered the emperor's eyes. Not when he looked at her, but when he didn't. So she summoned her oldest maidservant, Granny Mai, who had served her since her maiden days. She whispered no accusations, no vengeance, only this: "Fetch me snow chrysanthemum from the western cliffs, and bring the teacup I drank from today. Do not tell a soul." That night, Ziyan poured her tea into a small porcelain koi. The fish's mouth opened with a twist, and within it, she stored her sips. The poison was real. The slow kind. The patient kind. the kind that needed time. Perfect. Over the next month, the Empress fell further, so the court believed. She coughed delicately into silk sleeves, walked with the aid of her maid, and missed morning court. The Emperor visited once, peered at her pale face, and sighed theatrically. Then he left her chamber, and never returned. Ziyan began her war. First, she summoned eunuch Jin, once her nursemaid's son, now relegated to cleaning the archive hall. He had loyalty in his bones and knew how to walk unseen. She sent him to watch the kitchens, the tea, the concubines' handmaids. Then she summoned the imperial physician, old Master Chiao, who owed her his life from years ago when she defended him against slander. She showed him the vial. He paled and nodded. A rare mix: amber root, red bell extract, and powdered nightshade. Undetectable in heat. Administered slowly, it drains strength, distorts the mind, and finally, destroys the heart. Good, Ziyan said, voice as cool as the snow outside. Then we have time. And so began the true game. Each evening, Ziyan accepted the tea with trembling fingers. But she no longer drank it. The koi swallowed her burden. By midnight, Granny Mai would bring another, an identical cup, brewed with her own herbs and chrysanthemum, to keep the Empress lucid and strong. But that was only the beginning. She needed to strike back. So she began giving her tea, the poisoned tea, to the Emperor. A drop here, a shared toast there. On his birthday, she gifted him a wine she knew he'd taste out of courtesy. At the New Year's banquet, a dumpling filled with surprise, and microdoses of his own medicine. And when he began to wake up weary, when he rubbed his temples during council meetings and forgot names, he blamed age. The stress of governance. Never her. Concubine Wa grew bolder. Your Majesty, she cooed, the Empress grows weaker. The people whisper. Perhaps it is time to let her go. He agreed. A decree was drafted. Retirement to the southern gardens. But before the seal could be stamped, the Empress collapsed. They called the imperial court. Doctors, priests, alchemists. The Emperor stood by her bedside, watching her with tired eyes. You were beautiful once, he murmured. I almost loved you. Her lips moved. He leaned closer, and she smiled. When the Emperor collapsed 3 days later, the court thought it was grief. When he began slurring his speech, forgetting the names of his ministers, and trembling during rituals, they thought it was illness. But then concubine Wa panicked, because she knew what the Empress had not drunk, and what the Emperor had. She demanded the Empress be imprisoned, declared a witch, a murderess, a traitor. But Ziyan was ready. She summoned the court, in full regalia, looking not frail, but regal, ghost-pale, and composed like a jade statue. She laid it all out. The poison, the cups, the physician's testimony, the eunuch's reports, the sealed vials with matching compounds in the Emperor's blood. And then, she offered mercy. I do not wish for his death, only the truth. Let the empire decide whether he is fit to rule. The ministers, shaken by the Emperor's illness and the concubine's hysteria, agreed. The Emperor was quietly retired. Concubine Wa vanished from the palace. Some say she fled. Others say she was given a cup of tea, one she did drink. Empress Lin Ziyan ruled in his place, not as sovereign, but as regent to the young prince, the Emperor's only son by a now-deceased consort, one whom Ziyan raised herself. She ruled not with an iron fist, but with a velvet glove laced in steel. And every evening, she sat by the pond, koi fish swimming lazily beneath the surface, and sipped her chrysanthemum tea under the waning sun. She never remarried. She never fell ill again. But in the Hall of Eternal Harmony, one painting remains. A pale empress in phoenix robes, eyes like winter water, calm, unreadable, and fathoms deep.